So here's the new pump. Here's the hose connections. And way inside is where all this dripping is coming from. And this is happening during the filling cycle. The tub is maybe 3/4 full of water. It's not even agitating, and yet it's dripping, which to me tells me that this whole agitator tub is dripping. So this was an expensive lesson and story that I learned. This is an 11-year-old Kenmore washer and dryer combination, and I've maintained the dryer for at least 2 different repairs over the years. The washer never did a repair. However, 2 weeks ago we found water was leaking from the bottom of the washer. So what we did was just set up an appointment for a Sears technician to come out, and he popped open the front here, and it was much easier to pop open than I thought. Anyway, he found a leak in a water pump. So the popping open method is finding where the tab is. There's 2 of them. Slide it in, and then you can pull it open. Find where the tab is on this side, push it in, and then you can slide it open. And then there's these 2 little tabs at the bottom. You can then just lift off this whole front panel and move it out of the way. So when I found this leak 2 weeks ago, what I should have done, if I'd known how to, is remove this front panel and then run this washer through a cycle and look for where the leak was coming from. So what happened was the Sears technician came out and found a leak from this pump, and he was satisfied that that was the leak that ended up here on the floor. So he ordered a replacement pump and an attached hose above it. And we were gone for weeks, and we came back, and it was 2 weeks later when we finally had the parts. And the time that we were here, he came back, put in the new parts, ran it through a cycle, and was satisfied that it was no longer leaking, and it looked good, and it sounded good. So we immediately then, as soon as he left, got the laundry room put back together again and put in a load of laundry, and at the end of that load of laundry we had puddles like this, which looked just like the puddles before. Nothing was solved. So at that point I learned how to pop open the front of this panel, got way down on the floor, started filling up the tub here, the washer, and I watched until I saw dripping, and the dripping was coming from the center of the tub, not from this pump. So there was probably 2 leaks, and the technician found one of them and solved it, but not solved the big leak. So now we have a washer that either is expensive, a very expensive repair. He said it'll be $1,000 for the parts, not even including the labor. Well, a new unit is only $1,400 approximately, and so that's the route we're going to take, is to replace this unit. It's been a faithful servant for 11 years, but the cost of repair is just too high. This is the way the charges added up. It would have been a much nicer outcome if the servicing technician had said, okay, you've got a water leak there, yes, but you've actually got 2 water leaks. And then he found the one at the pump, and if he got all the way down on the floor and shined with a flashlight while I was running, he would have seen all that dripping that you saw on the earlier video, and he could have said, you know, the leak further back is very expensive to repair. And between this one and the other one, it'll cost much more than it would be to just buy a whole new unit. And then I would have gotten away with a $129 service visit to assess the problem. Instead, I had to find out after this 687 installation of 2 parts that we still got a leak. And then I discovered, once I figured out how to pop open this panel, I discovered where the leak was, the nature of the leak, and then I texted it to the technician, and he agreed that it's coming from this agitator basket, and it'll be very expensive. So we've ordered a new washer-dryer combination that will service the same as this one, to be delivered in about 4 days. And I think the defective situation was the technician was on his knees and he saw the drips coming from here instead of being all the way down on the ground and shining a flashlight in to look for other leaks. And I found them very quickly once the appliance was filling, not even agitating yet. It was dripping from the bottom in there past where all these wires are located. So expensive lesson. This is the new pump, and this is where it exits to go to the drain. And this clip looks like it's in good shape, which he reused. I bought him 2 new hose clamps to use on the hose that comes from the tub. Now, as I look at the old pump, I don't really see anything wrong with it. I don't see any cracks or holes or whatever. This clamp, though, is definitely rusted, whereas the one that was on this side was not rusted. But it could just be rusted because there was a spray of water from the bigger drip, and it might have just been flipping water out here and gradually rusting it until it got so much dripping that it was flowing out, and that's when I saw it on the side of the washer. I've dried this out with both a mop and electric fan to dry out all the excess water, so that's why we don't see it anymore. This is days later. But I'd be almost willing to bet that there's nothing wrong with this pump, and he was misled by the water he saw in the bottom of the washer, and he saw it right next to the pump because he was just kneeling down here. He didn't have his head all the way down on the floor to see where the water is coming from. He just assumed, oh, there's water right here, it's coming from the pump. That's what I think is happening, and that what ends up costing me all the parts that he ordered. Misguided, most likely. I wanted to see at what tub level the leaking occurs. Small load. It's filling now, nothing yet. Okay, it's filling up pretty fast. And here's water near the pump. But it's coming from underneath. Let's see how much water's in the tub by now. Still very low level, and all it was doing was filling, not agitating at all. And so here there's no filling going on, it's just draining out from the tub. Here's the new motor. Here's the new hose, but there's plenty of leakage going on underneath the spin basket. So this is what the technician should have seen on his very first visit if he was down on the floor like I am right now. Next I'm going to set it to spin to drain out whatever's in the tub at this point. Oh, that's why. The lid is open so it can't spin out. Okay, let's switch to spin. There's the spray. The water sprays over towards the pump. And that would have gotten the clip wet. And the clip would have rusted. One of the toughest parts of dealing with sears is reaching an actual person you can talk to on the phone. Yesterday I did reach a person and was told that based on what has happened, I might be due some sort of a refund of this huge charge. My feeling is I should have just had the initial $129 diagnostic visit, was shown the leaks that were present, and explained how expensive they would be to be repaired. Instead I got taken down this rabbit hole of parts that never should have been ordered. Tomorrow this is going to be replaced with a similar version made by GE. So we'll start off with a new washer again.